Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is our WWE show for the week. Let's start off with the so-so segments of the night. The stuff that wasn't bad, wasn't good, it was just there. First off, we have a Divas tag team match. AJ Lee and Layla versus Paige and Alicia Fox. AJ tells Layla that she's her favorite of the Divas that she all hates. We see Layla turn the tables and leave AJ before AJ can leave her. I just think it's a little silly. You got probably four of the better Divas, and you're throwing some stupid and silly like that on top of it. Just have them wrestle. The storyline is they all want to be champion. It's not hard. This ain't rocket science, folks. You got one that's a champion, three that aren't. Simple. Coming from that, we're going to talk about another champion, Sheamus, going up against The Miz with Damien Mizdow. I teetered on this one. I almost gave this a good just because of Damien Mizdow, because he was hilarious, and they used it properly with this. With The Miz winning by countout, with basically both of them running interference. That's the way that this character should play out. That's the way that the whole gimmick with the stunt double should be. It was fun, entertaining. To me, though, I don't know, it just felt silly. And Sheamus' character is really flat for me right now. Sheamus is probably one of the most deserving of a heel turn, in my opinion, or most in need of a turn. Next up, we had the bad portions of the night. Surprise, surprise, the Total Divas 6-woman match. Cameron, Summer Rae, and Nikki Bella versus Brie Bella, Natalya, Neidhart, and Naomi. The Brie team picks up the win with Brie beating Nikki. Just bad, silly. I don't know. I really don't get it. I don't know how they continue to book the Divas division this badly. It doesn't make sense to me, in my opinion. And I know they're trying to cross-promote Total Divas. I get that. Just, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then how the hell is it going to make dollars? You like that? That was pretty good. But I think I stole it from a rapper somewhere down the line, said if it don't make dollars, then it don't make sense. But I stole it, but it was pretty good. Now we're going to go right into the question of the week. With The Rock making a surprise return last week, who would you like to see The Rock face off with at WrestleMania 31? First off, from my cousin John. Dude, when The Rock came out, I said they needed that because everything up to that point was a bore. Just horrible. The show got a 3 automatically for me as soon as I heard his music. Sammy, which is his wife, also my cousin, came out and saw me and said, "I've never seen you like this." I said, "It's the fucking Rock." What? They needed that. For me, I love The Rock, so to see him in the match would make any other star or up-and-comer, would help establish him even if they lose him. Take Rusev, for example. The way he took hits from The Rock and his sheer mass shows he could even get the upper hand during a match. Ultimately losing to The Rock to restore our USA, but still would be a good match to watch. Bray and the Wyatts are being revamped. The Rock and Bray would be great over the mic as a matchup. Just banter back and forth would keep the viewers watching and listening. Another good in-ring over the mic combo. The Rock and Bo Dallas. Dallas is so in-depth with his character, and for him to pick up an even a cheesy victory against The Rock would propel his character and everyone to believe. Finally, Dean Ambrose. For him right now, sky's the limit. He's making it look easy to be the face. Next up, we have our friend Steve Tatanani. I know this may be a bit of a stretch, but this is who I'd like to see The Rock wrestle at WrestleMania 31. The Rock versus The Undertaker. Of course, this would depend on The Rock's movie schedule and The Undertaker's health. I feel if they do have this match at WrestleMania 31, It will be a great match as well as a proper send-off for both The Rock and The Undertaker before they go in the WWE Hall of Fame. Next is from our friend Dizzlepup. Hey George, I'd like to see him fight either A, Daniel Bryan, Rock is in phenomenal shape for an older guy and can easily keep up with his action-paced style, or B, Dean Ambrose. The key to a good Rock match is the trash talk before, and I think this is a part of Ambrose's game that is really developing. I think he has to be a guy on the edge of greatness, and as a good match with The Rock would give a superstar like Ambrose Bryan instant megastar status. In my opinion, Cena didn't reach true immortal status until after his matches with Rock. WWE could use him wisely in this way, in my opinion. Next is from our friend Joseph Hatcher. I'd like to see The Rock versus John Cena. Just kidding. I'd like to see The Rock versus Triple H with the stipulation that The Rock was the new COO so he could destroy the Authority and maybe break Triple H's big nose and become the CEO or COO of WWE in the process. There's a lot of answers here, folks. You guys really responded to that. Next is from Offspring Al. Hey Heel Heat, thanks for reading out my answer in your video. You're welcome. I'd love to see Shawn Michaels come out of retirement and take on The Rock. It's a match I don't even ever recall happening, and I can't understand why. I think it would be an awesome feud between the two. Their two characters, and I'm sure to be an epic match. And then he goes on, I had trouble pronouncing his name last week, so he explains that. I do believe I have it right here, because what he explains is what I just said. But, a little backstory. Their careers, while they did cross paths, The Rock all you have to do is look back at WrestleMania 14 and see where The Rock was on that card and where Shawn Michaels was on that card, because that's the last match that Shawn Michaels has for 4 years, and then when Shawn Michaels comes back, The Rock is already leaving to do movies. So while they passed a few times, they didn't really pass, if you follow what I'm saying. It's kind of like saying Hulk Hogan and Bruno Sammartino never had a main event match. Hogan came in towards the end of Bruno Sammartino's run. That's why, just so you know. And last but not least, our friend Benjamin Mean 19. Hey Heel Heat, I'd love to see The Rock versus Bray Wyatt. I think one of these issues with booking in the WWE is it isn't clear who the faces are and who the heels are anymore. I think a big feud with The Rock would set Bray up as the biggest heel in WWE. I think it would be smart to have Bray display some old school heel tactics. I'd love to see Wyatt become one of the biggest heels of all time, and maybe this is one way to make it possible. A lot of great opinions there, a lot of great, choices for matches. I think all of them would be excellent, to be honest with you. My personal one, I would enjoy seeing, and it's just because I'm such a fan of the guy, and I know there's a mutual admiration between the two. The Rock versus Kevin Steen. Now, I don't think Kevin Steen, he hasn't even debuted in NXT yet, so I highly doubt that he'll be in main event status by WrestleMania. So that's pipe dream. That would be the one I'd love to see. Fantasy booking. I'd love to see him versus Kevin Steen. Now, realistic booking, there's a lot of ways you could go with this. The Rock versus Roman Reigns, cousin versus cousin, I think would be great. Passing the torch, the only thing I could think would be an issue with that is Roman would not be able to hang with The Rock on the mic. So it may not portray him as a star if he's not as good leading up to the match as The Rock. However, I do think The Rock could maybe rub off on him and help him improve that. Rock versus Ambrose would be a great match. Rock versus Rollins would be a great match. Basically, Rock versus anybody from The Shield. Bray Wyatt would be amazing. I'd love to see that. I think there's so much you could do with both the characters. I'd actually, and this one's probably a little bit out of left field. I'd like to see a match, The Rock versus another guy that's rumored to be working out for a WWE WrestleMania return, but he says no. The Rock versus Austin versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho's claim to fame all these years is he beat The Rock and Austin both in the same night. Wouldn't it be great if he could say, I beat them both at the same time? Just some different angles I would let they could go. I would love to see him versus Kevin Steen. That's my pick. But, again, I don't think it's logistically going to be possible. Now, coming off of that, our question of the week for this week is, how do you feel about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view not having the world champion on there? Does it make it less of an important show? Does it not matter to you? Does it make it more important when he actually does wrestle? Let us know what you think about it. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down there in the comments. Moving on from that, we're going to go right into the good portions of the night, the stuff I actually liked. The opening segment with Dean Ambrose and John Cena and the Authority, Stephanie and Triple H coming out. I like this. I like that they're letting Dean Ambrose go out and run with the big dogs. Run with John Cena, run with the Authority. I think it's going to give him credence. It's going to do wonders for his career. Perception becomes reality. If you're perceived to be a main eventer because who you're with and who you're dealing with, you will become a main eventer. It kind of reminds me of, and I just watched it today on the WWE Network when they were talking about the cruiserweights in WCW. In WCW, the cruiserweights were only allowed to go a certain distance. So they always were perceived as lower than the main event, even if the fans didn't want them to be. But you always knew as a fan, Rey Mysterio was never going to be WCW champion. Eddie Guerrero was never going to be WCW champion. Chris Benoit barely got to be WCW champion. Dean Malenko was never allowed to even go for it. All these guys, they come over to WWE. WWE says, we can make Eddie Guerrero champion. He makes an awesome champion. He's one of the best wrestlers of his generation. He's amazing. Rey Mysterio has an innate charisma that hardly anybody in the history of wrestling had. How can he not make him a world champion? Yeah, he's 4'2". Yeah, he's 12 pounds. So what? The fans love him. They've seen things, they've seen the bigger picture. Chris Jericho, a guy who wasn't even allowed to have a proper feud with Goldberg. All the fans wanted him to have a proper feud with Goldberg. WCW discipline did not allow him, so he was never perceived to go up. Same thing with Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose running, having matches as tag team partner and against John Cena is going to make Dean Ambrose look like he's on the level of John Cena, which is only better for the business because you're building brand new stars. Then we get to see, coming off of that opening, we get to see Cena and Ambrose go up against the Dust Brothers and the Uso Brothers. Cena and Ambrose pick up the win, which makes the Authority change the stipulation, move up their contract on a pole match. To the end of the night, Vince Russo somewhere is sitting very excited about that, loves on the pole matches. Anyway, so we'll see them later on the show. Next up, we have Dolph Ziggler versus Randy Orton. I thought this one was really cool. We find out that the winner, not only does the winner of Cena and Ambrose get to face Rollins, but the loser faces Randy Orton. So Rollins comes out during the match. Orton picks up the big win. Afterwards, we see a little friendly, I guess, somewhat rivalry. I like that they're starting to tease a Randy Orton face turn. I think, the few times that Randy Orton has been a face, they've kind of handcuffed him as to what he can and can't do. They kind of never really let him grab the brass ring. As a heel, he's been allowed to be the top heel. As a face, he never reached the top. They wouldn't let him be anything bigger than Cena. I think he can do it. I think there's a lot of people that love Randy Orton. I think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers of this generation. People take for granted how good he is and that he's always going to be there. Or don't like his style and I don't want to sound condescending because I'm not trying to be. This isn't, I I understand wrestling better than you. No, I don't. I'm just a guy with a camera that watches wrestling and has watched wrestling for a long time. There's a lot of people that don't get some of the things that Randy Orton does when he's a heel. That don't get the cowardly actions, and that's part of his heel ways. So, he gets it. I think it makes him look awesome. I think he's very underrated. I think people will realize probably 5 years after he's done wrestling just how good he was. Coming off of that, we have the back end of this. Seth Rollins versus Jack Swagger. Rollins picks up the win. Orton's at ringside. Same thing. Again, with Seth Rollins being involved, with Randy Orton and the top main event guys, much like Dean Ambrose, it's going to elevate his game. It's going to bring him up in there with the big boys, being the big leagues. He's going to be one of the top heels, maybe a top face eventually. All comes around. After that, we have Rusev versus the Big Show. Big Show promises to knock Rusev out. Very competitive match. Rusev gets the upper hand. Has a Big Show in the camel clutch. I believe he calls it the Accolade. It's hard for me not to call it the camel clutch out of respect for the Iron Sheik, who doesn't love the Sheik. Anyway, Show refuses to tap out. His friend Mark Henry comes down. They get disqualified. However, after the match, they trap Rusev between the two. Show gets to finally knock him out. Rusev keeps the win. Show gets the knockout he was looking for. Everybody's happy. I'm actually happy. I thought it was interesting. Rusev to me has been a very boring character at times. His feud with Mark Henry and the Big Show, I've actually liked. I've enjoyed the interaction between them. Last but not least, our main event of the night, the contract on a pole match. John Cena versus Dean Ambrose. We have the Authority come down, Hunter and Steph. Then we have Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, and Kane all come down. All of them get involved. They get a little bit of a distraction while Cena's distracted. Dean Ambrose sneaks up the ropes, gets to the contract. Very cool ending. Very fun way to end it. Kind of reminiscent of a guy I mentioned a little bit earlier, Eddie Guerrero, something that he would do. A little bit of Guerrero in there. You know, kind of any means necessary. A different kind of face. It goes back and it harkens back for us Americans and probably some of you other people around the world that know your world history, back to the Civil Rights era in America. You have Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Both were fighting for African American civil rights. Martin Luther King, by peaceful protest. Malcolm X, by any means necessary. John Cena's Martin Luther King, the path of the righteous, the peaceful, we'll get this done the right way. Dean Ambrose is Malcolm X. We'll do it by any means necessary. If it means I gotta cheat to get to the championship, I'm gonna cheat to get the championship. If it means I gotta wait till my opponent's distracted to pick up an easy win, I'm gonna pick up an easy win. Like the little subtle nuances in this character, makes it more interesting. Nuances make the character better. I think it fits him better that he's a little bit on edge, a little bit not exactly a face, not exactly a heel, kind of a shade of gray, leaning towards a face, kind of like a Stone Cold was, where he was a face, but acted a little bit like a heel at times. But anyway, coming off of that, we're going to roll right into our ratings for the week. Now we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1's a Great Khali, 2's a Heath Slater, 3's a Stardust, 4's a Cesaro, 5's a Daniel Bryan. I'm going to give this show a solid 4, a Cesaro. I quite enjoyed the show. It seemed like they gave a little bit longer times to the segments. The Total Diva 6-woman match was a total flop. Other than that, the Divas tag match was okay. Sheamus and Miz, alright. Other than that, everything else was enjoyable other than the stupid celebrity appearances, which I didn't even bother to put on here because I don't care about Todd Chrisley or Nene, whatever the hell her name is, who I have no clue who she was until that night, and then people said, okay, she's on. this show and that show, Real Housewives of Atlanta, and Glee, and Dances with the Stars. Okay, that's 3 shows that I would guarantee that 80 to 90% of the wrestling audience doesn't watch. So who gives a shit that she's on there? The only reason I know who Todd Chrisley is because here in America, they play the commercials for his stupid reality show constantly. Because it's on USA, same channel as Raw. But anyway, give the show a 4, a Cesaro, solid all the way through. Not great, but very solid, very fun. Easily kept my interest a lot better than last week's show did. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. My name is George Coles. This has been another episode of Heel Heat.